and welcome to Turing Dev Talks. This is Alina, your host for the day. And today on the panel, we have Eric, who's joining us from Kenya. Let me tell you that Eric has more than 8 years of experience in the software industry. He has worked with international companies as well as on government projects. He is an expert full-stack developer with expertise in Node.JS, Java, PHP, React, Python, to name a few. And today he is going to talk in detail about PHP, how it compares with the others for web development, and why developers should choose PHP in 2022. And I think without further ado, let's get started. Hi, Eric. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing, and how has work at Turing been so far for you?
I'm all right. The work is good. I'm growing my skills every day. This has been the most career opportunity. Working remote creates the best work-life balance.
Okay, that sounds interesting. It seems like Turing is providing the work-life balance that it promises to all its software developers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, let's start our discussion, Eric. And I think the best way forward to start this discussion would be to get to know you a little better. So could you tell us something more about your software development journey?
I'm a senior software developer and solution architect. I obtained my bachelor's in mathematics and computer science in year 2014. Since then, I've been developing cutting-edge solutions for financial and government institutions in Kenya and East Africa. I signed up to tutoring last year, and within 2 months, I was matched with a fintech company in US. This has really helped me grow and stand out.
Okay, that sounds great, Eric. On that note, I think let's start a discussion on PHP now. Could you help developers understand why they should learn PHP in 2022?
Well, PHP is convenient, easy to learn, has many useful libraries and detailed documentation. And what is very important, as a huge community. PHP is still the most used server-side language, so there is an demand for PHP developers in the market. PHP can also be used as a monolithic application where we can develop the front end and back end at the same time. There are popular PHP frameworks that make this language stand out in web development, e.g. Laravel, Yi, Coordinator, Symphony, just to name a few. Now, with the release of PHP 8.1, which brings on board great features and performance improvements that make PHP more powerful.
Yeah, so that sounds really, really great, Eric. But just to get more perspective in terms of where PHP is used, could you name a few companies where PHP is currently being used?
Well, we have Facebook, Media, OnePlus, Slack, MailChimp, etc.
Okay, those are some great names that you have mentioned. Facebook, Slack, WordPress, all of these are some really great names. And I'm sure our developers would be really interested to know more about PHP in that case, right? So, Eric, could you shed some light on what is PHP used for and why PHP is used for web development in particular?
With PHP's demand constantly on the rise, yearly updates deliver the improvements. Backend done with PHP today is not just a database. Can easily be done with PHP. PHP has become more efficient and able to handle different tasks while staying user-friendly and cheap. For commercial projects, PHP is the best choice. That's with light syntax and quick onboarding. Many claim that PHP is the best commercially used programming language all around the world. Teamed up with JavaScript, PHP can be used to see any kind of project through to a successful release with no problems. It is like English among programming languages. Everybody knows it. It can be adapted quickly and used for virtually infinite number of purposes. It is used for web development because PHP takes less time to deliver projects using PHP than when some other programming languages is chosen and used for the task at hand. Using PHP for web development is cheaper than the backend technologies. PHP supports many database options from SSQL and IBM to DB2 and Oracle OC18. With more databases option, it is easier to handle your data and redirect it. Faster speed allows fluent and fast work of all embedded systems.
Okay, right. So that's some great explanation about what is PHP used for. But if you had to use PHP for backend, do you think knowing PHP suffices, or should developers also need to know some other frameworks, for example? What do you think?
First, you require a server to host. This can be cPanel or VPS from Amazon, Google, or other cloud service providers. Also, PHP scripts are executed on the application server. Therefore, you will be required to install Apache or Nginx or other application servers in the market. Databases like MySQL and Postgres, which are open source, are some of the technologies that you might need to embed in your PHP application.
Okay, that was great, Eric. Thank you so much for letting us know about all the technologies that will be required alongside PHP for you to be a good backend engineer, right? But let us also talk about the recent updates of the PHP version, right? Can you tell us something about what is the latest version and some features about that as well? I guess the latest version is version 8.1?
Of course. Some of the new features of PHP 8.1 are: 1. Enumeration is a separate kind that owns a good numbers of potential numbers. 2, we have fibers. Fiber is a code block that contains a stack of variables and states. These fibers can be considered application string and can be gone from the principal program. 3, we have the never return type. The never return type can be utilized to demonstrate that a capacity will end the program execution after performing a specified set of tasks. This should be possible by tossing an exemption, calling the exit or die function. 4, we have the read-only property. This is a class property that has been perused, just must be inserted once. The value set inside can't be changed. Assuming you attempt to replace the value persuasively, the application will throw an error. 5, we have final class constant. It earns support for another flag for the class constant called last. Unfortunately, class constants can't be adjusted, even by performing legacy, which implies this can't be expanded or superseded by the subclasses. We also have new array is list function. It recognizes whether a predefined array generally has consecutive numbers beginning from 0. Also, new fsync and fdatasync functions. Both have similarities to the current fflash function, which is used to flash buffers into the working framework. Array unpacking supports for string arrays. PHP 8.1 supports unpacking the string arrays to unload an array. PHP utilizes sprint operator. Also, new full path key in files for directory uploads. This one didn't store the overlays or the specific directory to the server. Henceforth, you couldn't transfer a whole guide utilizing an HTML document upload form. Lastly, new interrogate pattern generator class. This class permits determining the arrangement for a date and month, and the course will consequently deal with time and the requests.
Okay, very interesting, Eric. That was quite insightful. And I'm sure that developers would really benefit from this information. They'd get to know what's new in the PHP version 8.1, and they would definitely like to learn more about PHP as well. But what would you like to say about its compatibility with the past versions? Could you shed some light on that as well?
Some features may not be compatible with PHP 7 and below. However, that can help analyze the compatibility, e.g. fan, PHP stan. These tools can be found online.
Okay, great, Eric. So we have talked about a lot of things in PHP. We've talked about the recent version. We've talked about its compatibility with the past versions, why it is used, and why developers should implement PHP in 2022, right? But how does it compare with its peers like JavaScript, Python, and Ruby? Can you tell us something more about that as well?
JavaScript remains the most popular programming language of them all and has been around for almost as long as PHP. JavaScript is primarily a client-side language and therefore not directly comparable with PHP. Though the rise of Node.JS and other frameworks enables developers to write server-side scripts with JavaScript. On the other hand, PHP is easier to learn and maintain. So it could mean lower development costs. Python is also one of the most popular languages today, loved for its simplicity and flexibility. It has emerged as the #1 choice for data science and AI, though it still trails far behind PHP and in use for web development. It is flexible, though does not yet provide the same level of database connectivity and support as PHP. Lastly, Ruby is another open source language that has been around since the 90s, and it's used in the popular web development framework, Ruby on Rails. It's praised for its elegant syntax and robust performance, though it is considered more complicated to learn than PHP and doesn't have the same extensive community support. Ultimately, the language you choose will depend on what you are trying to build and what features you wish to prioritize, which could mean having to use one over another. So learning as much as you can is done.
Right. That's very true, actually. And thank you so much for the clarification in terms of how PHP compares with JavaScript, Python, and Ruby, right? By the way, PHP is one of the most used server-side programming language on the web. I came across a recent survey while I was researching for the script, and it said that 79.2% of all websites rely on PHP to some degree, making it one of the most popular languages among programmers and web developers due to its widespread use, which is very interesting, I would say. 79.2% is a huge chunk of the developers out there, right? Okay, now, Eric, we've covered a wide range of topics in PHP, but I think the discussion will be incomplete if we don't talk about the popular frameworks of PHP. So can you tell our developers more about that as well?
PHP comes with several frameworks. I'll start with Laravel, which offers you the following advantages when you are designing a web application based on it. The application becomes more scalable owing to it. Consistency is saved in designing the web application, since Laravel uses the components from other frameworks in developing web application. It includes namespaces and interfaces, thus helping to organize and manage resources. Likes of Vogue, Ascot, etc. uses it for their platforms. Another one is Symphony. Symphony is renowned for its ability to minimize chances of error, increase productivity, and provide readily available software components. Some of the biggest brands out there use Symphony to create their websites, projects, and resources. These include Spotify, National Geographic Travel, Trivago, and Swiss Open Government Data. CodeIgniter is another PHP framework. Due to robust features like handling errors, security measures, user-friendly interface, and test-driven development, PHP CodeIgniter has several enormous growth in the market. Likes of G-Shock, Casio, and Barracuda are using it to create their websites. Zen Framework is also a PHP framework. It's most used by enterprises. Zen follows the PHP framework interop group standards, meaning that its code can be ported across to other frameworks without difficulty. Like Symfony, you can use just the components you need. You can use Zen to build RESTful APIs. This framework has been used by large companies, which includes the likes of BBC, Cisco, and BNP Paribas. Lastly, G framework has several security measures such as encrypt, password hashing, encryption, authentication, and authorization. The documentation offers the best practice to prevent SQL injection, XSS, and XSRF attacks. The G code generator can quickly build skeleton code for you, saving time. It supports 4 types of caching to speed up web apps. That is data caching, fragment caching, page caching, and HTTP caching. You can run third-party code with the project. It is used by likes of Crowdcube, Purple, Pastebin, etc.
That is some incredible insight, Eric. And I'm sure that this would give a developer some great idea about the frameworks, about the various frameworks of PHP that they can explore, right? And here I would like to call upon all senior developers out there who are looking for jobs. If you have 3+ years of experience and are confident about the skill sets that you possess, please check out turing.com/jobs and apply to all the jobs that we have here. Now, coming back to you, Eric, this has been a wonderful discussion. Honestly, I had a lot of fun talking to you. And I think it is time to bring this discussion to a close. But before we let you go, could you share with our developers some tips and resources on how they can approach the interviews for PHP jobs?
Yes, sure. For a developer, the candidate you need to prepare for the interview. By this, I mean, you need to understand the syntax of PHP, how to use its context in developing a solution. For example, when do you need a class interface or just a function? How do you use them across the application, PHP application projects? Now, with familiarizing with yourself on the context of PHP and how to apply it, then you will be able to approach any PHP interview. There are several online tests that you can use to gauge your skills and understanding of PHP language.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing that. That was really helpful. I hope our audience makes use of the resources that you have mentioned. And also, they take a couple of tests, especially PHP tests, before they sit for a PHP interview. And thank you so much, Eric, for joining us for this discussion today. It was a pleasure talking to you about PHP and get to know more about this particular language. To everybody out there who's watching us, if you have any more questions, please feel free to drop us an email at support@turing.com. Let us know in the comments below what you would like to learn more in the next video and who you would like to see in the next video. Give us a big fat thumbs up if you like this video, and do not forget to subscribe to Turing.com. We will be back with many more such informative Turing videos. Till then, take care, stay safe, stay home, and click on the link in the description below to apply to Turing. Thank you and happy working.